There is no off-season for your back-to-back AFC South champion Houston Texans. Now from inside NRG Stadium, it's Texans All Access.
Oh, it's that time in the week, the Wednesday night draft. Welcome back to Texans All Access. I'm your host, John Harris. And as you can see, the round table is here. Deepi Sidhu, Marc Vandermeer, and Drew Dougherty.
As they can see, here. I thought we were on the radio.
Well, yeah, but there's actually a camera in studio, so you can actually see us on
the radio.
The YouTubes. But you can also hear us right now on the radio. Okay, so it's Wednesday night draft. Although we had a really good one last week. It was very good. We drafted 3 players for the Texans 2020 team from a retired Texan, a player the Texans faced in 2019, and a Hall of Famer. And you all did very, very well. Deepi, I think you ended up winning that.
Well,
so
thank you.
Congratulations. There's no award for winning it, but it's personal pride.
I'll
so you got
it.
that. Now,
I'll take it.
Today is February 12th. In 10 days, it will be the 40th anniversary of one of the not only greatest sporting events of all time, but one of the greatest American events of all time, and that would be United States hockey team, a group of college players beating the greatest hockey team potentially of all time, perhaps of all time, the Russians, 4-3. Al Michaels, Do You Believe in Miracles? And everybody remembers where they were when that happened. If you were born.
Yeah.
Were you born?
I was born, but I don't remember it. I've seen it, but I don't remember where I was.
I mean, I vaguely remember it.
They're too young.
I was
They're
very,
too young.
very young.
Because where were you when Kennedy was shot? Not born yet.
I was 8 years old, and I'll never forget when the game was over, I went and got a puzzle box, and I turned that into a goal. I went and got my hockey stick, and in my living room, I started my Mike Eruzione.
So you watched the broadcast, which was on delay.
Yes, which was on delay. That was one of the – think about that. One of the greatest sporting events of all time is on delay.
It's Olympics.
You couldn't do it now.
You couldn't
do it now. But I remember Jim McKay standing up there saying, it's time for USA, USSR. And you could see all the fans in the background just waving and going crazy. And I was 8 years old, so I'm like, okay, game's on. All right. Didn't realize it was on delay until much later. Where were you?
I went to a boarding school, so we had very little media consumption, right?
Yeah.
So no radio. I mean, the radio, but you
Yeah.
weren't listening during the day. You were going to class and doing stuff like that. So honestly, it was not a big deal on campus. You stumbled into the dorm, and there it was.
Right.
And there was no build-up, really. It was just there. And, a few guys were watching because we had a hockey team and some interest in sports, of course, in live sports, and then the crowd gathered around. So I had no clue what had happened.
I remember it distinctly just watching it as an 8-year-old. Like, this is pretty cool.
Right.
Like, wow, this is crazy. And I kind of, that Sunday, I remember driving down to Green Bay to see my aunt and uncle. We watched them beat Finland for the gold. So that got me thinking about a draft tonight.
Okay, draft.
That being, there are times and places as it pertains to sports in our lives that we will never forget where we were when it happened.
Places I remember.
Thank you, Drew.
Yeah.
Why does everybody want to sing today?
I don't
Marc
know.
was just singing.
Yeah, but I
Drew
always sing.
singing.
He never does.
Johnny
That's my
and I will
favorite song.
never, ever.
That's my
And
favorite
Deepi,
song.
We
he's
will
singing
never
a
do that
Beatles
to
song.
people.
I won't even do that.
No, I won't do that.
I won't sing ever.
Our draft tonight is we are drafting sports moments where we remember exactly where we were when they happened. Big moments.
And
big moments. Good, bad. It can be a game.
Bad?
It could be a moment. I got one that's really, really bad, but I'll never forget it. Like,
Okay.
I'll never forget where I was when I heard it.
It might be the same one as mine.
Oh, really? Well, here's
Did
the
it
deal,
happen
though.
in 1986?
I'm not
No.
going to do
Okay, we're good.
I'm not going to do games that I called.
Yeah,
okay?
you can't. No. Try to avoid those.
Oh, I'll do 86 too, maybe. I don't know. I'm changing my draft.
Good.
Go
You're
on.
changing your draft.
All right. So, but here's the deal. We don't have much time, so we just got to
Right.
get into it.
Yeah, we got to get into it.
All right,
yeah,
let's go.
and everybody's gonna have a little bit of a story with it, and that's
All right.
fine. We can share a little bit. Who would like to go first? Anybody volunteer? Drew Dougherty, you're gonna go first.
1997, June 28th. I just completed my freshman year at college, and I was with some of my best friends back home in Houston. Don't know what. That's probably a Saturday night, but I was at my friend Rico's house with a few other people, and he bought the pay-per-view Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield fight.
Such a good one.
We were locked in. We used to watch pretty much most of the big boxing matches at the time, regardless of weight class. So we were pumped for that because it was Tyson, it was Holyfield.
Yeah. Finally.
Yep.
And Tyson bites Holyfield's ear. And you hear that, and everybody knows about that match, and they know about how unhinged Tyson was. But if you go back and you watch the post-fight interviews, you kind of remember, why he didn't just like bite him to bite him. The reason he bit him was because Holyfield was headbutting him, and hitting him. He cut his eye open like early rounds, and Tyson, being who Tyson was, after a while just went off and wound up biting him. But there was a reason for it. It wasn't just out of nowhere. But that was, I will never forget being there, and we were just like the replay after replay after
chaos
replay. Like we were just going bananas. But in retrospect, if you look it up and you look at the post-fight interviews, Jim Gray, I know most people don't like him, but you got to respect him because he's interviewing and asking kind of tough questions of a guy like Mike Tyson right in the aftermath, and Tyson's furious. He's talking to Don King, who, Don King's history. So anyways, I will never forget 1997, watching that fight and watching the ear come off.
That's pretty good.
Okay,
pretty
big
good. Mark,
reason.
are you going next?
Yeah, I'll go next. I'll go next
Mark,
in
you
the
go
draft of where we know exactly where we were when these huge moments occurred.
Where you exactly know where you were.
I've told this story before, I believe, but it's a huge reason why I love radio sports play-by-play, and that is the Hale Flutie pass that beat Miami. I was a big Flutie fan, even though I didn't go to BC. I went to BU, the enemy, but they're an enemy in hockey, not in football. Anyway, I had to drive my sister to the train station. This was a wild game. People forget how great that game was.
It was a great game.
If Hale Flutie never happens, it's still a great game. It was huge. Bernie Kosar, Doug Flutie, great game. Anyway, I had to drive my sister to the train station. It was the Friday after Thanksgiving. So I drop her off, and I'm driving along, and very little time left. Flutie hits, I think, Scott Gieselman to set it up, and it's like, well, here's your ball game, and then he rolls out and hits Phelan for the touchdown, and the call was fantastic. I almost drove off the road, basically did, and I'll never forget that. I saw Hale Flutie on the radio, and to me that was a huge moment. Later on, as I think of it, that's a big reason. I always think of those things when we have big moments here with the Houston Texans, that somebody's listening in the car, and you got to do it justice for them. Of course, I've seen the highlight a gazillion times like everybody else, but I saw it live on the air in the car.
Very nice. Deepi, your
All
turn.
right. Mine is kind of good and kind of bad, but I think everyone's going to remember where they were during the O.J. Simpson car chase.
I just wrote that one down.
Especially people in Houston, because it was during Game 5 of the 1994 NBA Finals, so it cut into the broadcast. I was in Indianapolis at the time. I was spending the night at my friend's house because we were just out for the summer hanging out. Her brother had the game on, so we were kind of watching the game, but with just minimal interest since, we're in Indiana. It was on, and then it just cuts to the car chase. So I just remember watching that whole thing. I just remember where we were. And it went on for like 90 minutes.
It went on for a while.
Because we were like, you know what? This game, after this game, let's pop in this new movie. She's like, I heard of this new movie I've got on VHS. It's called Basic Instinct. And I don't know what the deal with it is.
Good movie.
But like we were like, oh, let's just see what the big deal. We were going to watch Basic Instinct, but then this car chase just took over our entire evening. So, O.J. Simpson, I'll never.
That was going to be mine. I'm with you. I was at Lance's apartment, Lance Airlines apartment. Y'all know Lance, and I was at his apartment. We had a few people over to watch the Rockets-Knicks game, and the car chase comes on, and we are watching in stunned silence. And then all of a sudden,
it was so slow too.
It was so slow, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, and you all know Lance. Lance starts taking odds on whether OJ is going to make it all the way to his house.
Oh.
and it just kind of broke the tension in the room. But it was like everybody was locked in. But I'll never forget that one. I'm going to stick with. Well, you know what? I'm going to build off of Mark's.
Okay.
Because there are two wins in Boston College history that people remember. If you're a Boston College fan and you tell them Hale Flutie, the second one happened in 1993. They went to Notre Dame. It was on November 20th, 1993. That was also my last college game. We played Columbia. We won the game, and my friend at the time, ex-girlfriend, had tickets to go to see the Bruins play the Flyers in the Boston Garden.
At the Garden.
And we were on our way there, and I flipped the game on, and I had no idea what happened in the game because we were playing. No smartphones, no anything. So I get in the car, and they're describing the game. It's 38-31. Boston College is ahead. I'm like, oh, my goodness, what is going on? Then Notre Dame scores to take the lead, and then Boston College has this drive. So we're driving towards Boston, listening to this game, and David Gordon hits a 41-yard field goal to win it. And I just remember I'm in a car going nuts because I wanted Boston College to upset Notre Dame. Sorry, Sean, just the way it goes.
It's the last truly great Notre Dame team, too.
It was. And so we get there, and we get into the building, and there's nobody in the building.
They were all watching.
They had all gone downstairs to the sports bar, so I had to go to the bathroom. So I'm in the bathroom, and it's stone silent. Some guy goes, "Hey, anybody know what happened in a Boston College game?" I had to leave with like 8 seconds left, and the bathroom just erupted. And so it was an amazing day driving, listening to that win. So you had one, the Boston College one.
Yep.
I had a Boston College one as well in 1993. Drew, you're
Second
next.
round.
Man, in 1995, the Rockets, they were up 3-0 on the Magic, and I was pumped because I was going to get to see it, the Rockets win the title. And then I was in Baltimore. We're visiting family. So all my friends are back home in Houston getting to live it up. And I was happy because my team won, but I was also wistful because I was like, man, I wish I was in Houston because I was going to be a senior in high school, and we were going to have some fun on Richmond Avenue maybe because that used to be the place they had parades and stuff, like impromptu parades. So I was really pumped about that one because that Magic team they were supposed to just roll.
Oh, they were going to roll, yep.
And then the Rockets ripped everything away from them in that game one, and they were just stunned afterwards. So, yeah.
All right, so sporting events, you know where you were, you remember, you'll never forget. Here is another one, and these
are all that you weren't at the sporting
event. You weren't
event.
at the sporting event, and I didn't work the sporting event. Okay. So this is a bad and good one as well. Same Rocket series as Deepi's with the O.J. Car Chase. Game 7 against the Knicks, right? And Starks has that horrific shooting game. I had food poisoning and all day. And this is, look, I'm in Michigan at the time. Houston is not a glint in my eye. I always liked the Rockets, though. In fact, I went to school in Boston and lived there for a long time. I was never a diehard Celtics fan, but always respected them and liked them. But in '86, I was rooting for the Rockets in that series because I just loved the Twin Towers and the whole thing. Anyway, so in this series, I'm rooting for the Rockets. Again, I want the Rockets to win the title for the first time. But I am deathly ill. Like, food poisoning is, if you haven't had it, like you're thinking,
don't get it.
Death would be really, I could get a good rest. I would not feel this anymore. I mean, it's so bad. So I'm watching out of like one eye this Rockets-Knicks Game 7 and the Rockets win. I'll never, you'll never forget stuff like that.
Yeah.
I watched a Super Bowl once with chickenpox. Smallpox would have been something else. Chickenpox.
Quite the turnaround for
Adult
you,
chickenpox, though, was no joke. But
Food
anyway.
poisoning is, oh, man.
Yeah,
all right,
nasty.
DP.
I feel like we're all in the same vein because I was actually going to pick the 1995 Eastern Conference semifinals. Pacers versus the Knicks. The Hicks versus the Knicks. Reggie Miller scores 8 points in 9 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
I was like at the peak of my Pacers fandom. I've since relinquished being a Pacers fan. I'm all in on the Rockets now for good reason. A lot of things changed after I left there, but I was in my family room watching that game. Pacers are down, and my mom was in there, and me and my brother were just jumping up and down. But the Pacers are down, and she's trying to understand why we're still cheering if they're losing. And I said, Mom, but you know what? They can, and my mom can vouch for me. I said, if Reggie Miller shoots a 3, then somehow gets the ball back and shoots another 3, and then gets two free throws, we're still in it. And then
that's exactly what he did.
Within that minute, because that was in the final minute or so, all that happened, and I just my mind, the emoji with the head blown. That was me. I just couldn't believe that, and I think the entire city went bananas.
What a moment!
The year before, when he goes 25 points in the fourth quarter, he being Reggie Miller, I had fallen asleep on my friend's couch, and they were trying to wake me up. I'm like, leave me alone. I missed the entire fourth quarter, everything, and I regret it to this day. Okay, this one, it's not a great one, but it to me is the epitome of remembering where you were. Back in the mid-'80s, we had newspapers.
Right, I remember them.
We had newspapers, and that was pretty much it. SportsCenter was kind of in its infancy.
Oh, you didn't? No one watched it.
Nothing. So coming by news, big sports news was sort of odd. And so you didn't just wake up, look at your phone, and go, oh, this happened. In June of 1986, it was 2 days after the NBA draft, I get in we were visiting Wisconsin. I'll never forget it. I was staying with a friend's house, and my mom and dad came to pick me up because we were going to go see my aunt and uncle. Got in the car, and my dad goes, Lem Bias died. And I was like, shut up, Dad. Don't mess with me. Because he knew that was my favorite player. He goes, no, I'm not kidding. Lem Bias died.
That was huge.
And I was like, I'm in the car, and I just I felt 2 tears just coming down my face. Like I could not believe Lem Bias had died. I'm like, how? Like I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And then
you found out how.
Yeah. And then we found out it was a cocaine overdose, and I was mortified. I was like, this is not supposed to happen to Lem Bias. Like he's the next Jordan. This can't happen. And I just remember being in the car, just tears coming down my face.
That's
like
a great
I cannot
one.
believe Lem Bias has died.
You never forget stuff like that. I was on Starro Drive in Boston when I found out on the radio that happened.
I was outside my friend Josh Jupstrom's house getting in. I mean, I remember it.
Josh remembers it too, by the way.
Oh,
he called.
It was ridiculous. Lem Bias dying. I tell you, that one sticks with me for forever. All right, Drew, last round.
Okay. I'll be Homer here.
Okay.
2002, September. I just moved into a new apartment up in Dallas. I graduated from SMU a couple years earlier. Moved into this attic apartment that was kind of like weird. It was like a Greg Brady-ish feel, but it was cool. It had 2 rooms, and it was big. It was enormous. It was above a
Were you making a suit?
property management. No, we were having a
Were
party.
there beads?
Because I was.
You just went
It puts the lotions.
I was a Houstonian.
Okay.
Amongst all these Cowboys fans.
I know
and it
where
was
you're going,
Texans versus Cowboys. And I had kind of gotten ready for the game earlier in the week. I was a producer at a TV station. I had this joker to my right on via satellite.
Yeah.
And he'd kind of previewed the game, I think.
Yeah.
And then the game happens, and they're all
And
kind
I
of
picked
like.
them to win.
Yes, he picked them to win. And the game happens, they're like, you guys aren't going to win. Not that they thought the Cowboys were world beaters, but it was an expansion team.
Nobody picked them to win.
And we drank a lot of things that night, and I got I got pretty loud that night, and it was fun. And we had a great time. It was kind of like the party that broke in the apartment.
Yeah.
And so that was just an unforgettable night.
Yeah.
And then a couple days, like the next day, you were on the show again on a split screen, and Kevin Blackistone at the time was with the Dallas Morning News. And he came on split screen, and he had a bag over his head because he had predicted the Cowboys were going to win.
And he called me out. I mean, he said every bad thing. By the way, the reason I picked them to win was because, first of all, the Cowboys weren't that good. You were at home. I knew it was going to be crazy in here, and we were just coming off the Patriots upsetting the Rams in the Super Bowl, which was a huge upset at the time. And I thought, why not? Why not? You're at home. You make a few plays. And I knew the defense. John Clayton told me that defense is going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
You're not starting any rookies on defense.
Right.
So they can do some things, and they did.
Very nice. Mark.
All right, so my last pick in this draft of sporting events where you never forget where you were when you heard. All right, so I'll go dark here because to bring up the Boston stuff again, because I was still very much a fan of this before I got in the business, 86 World Series, all right? And I know the Astros and the Mets had their wild time, but 86 World Series, it's Game 6. I'm at my dad's in New York, actually, and everybody had gone to bed, and I'm watching the game, and I'm thinking, I am missing Boston clinching. This is historic. Can you imagine what it's going to be like tonight in Boston? They're up 9th inning, and I'm thinking, I'm not there, and it's quiet in this house in the suburbs of New York, and I'm like, oh, man, and I'm going nuts, and, trying to not make too much noise, but, like, jumping up and down and, like, screaming in a whisper, like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe this. And then I watch in horror as 4 consecutive base hits go, and eventually the Red Sox lose, and I'm thinking, thank God, I'm not in Boston tonight.
That would have been brutal.
I mean, that was a bad one.
Deepi, your final sports moment that you will never forget where you were.
I saved this for last because I was like 99.999% sure that none of you guys were going to pick this moment.
Okay.
What
is this?
1994 Winter Olympics. Nancy Kerrigan,
I
Tanya Harding.
I predicted you would go there.
Oh, you did not.
But I didn't come out with it.
You did not.
Yes, go ahead.
That was my jam. The drama,
It was
the
so good.
suspense.
It was good.
Have you
Ice
seen the movie?
skating.
Have you seen the movie?
Tanya.
I,
You know
Tanya
what?
is
I have
fantastic.
not. But
What?
I
It's
need
Had to be
to.
better than the
Oh,
original.
How could it be better than
No,
the
you
original?
gotta
No,
see
it's good. You got to see
You
it.
gotta see it.
You gotta
Tanya
see it.
Harding's bodyguard, which we later found out took like a club or an
Crowbar
iron
or
or
something.
hit Nancy Kerrigan in the knees. The newspaper headlines with Nancy Kerrigan crying, "Why me?"
Oh, my gosh.
And then you fast forward to the Olympics, and every night when they had their trials, I was in this differential equations class. I know, Drew. which was kind of hard.
You will never hear the end of this.
It was kind
now.
of hard, and I'm really good at math, but I couldn't miss the lecture because he would give little tips. Professor Sen, he would give up little tips in the lecture, which then later they'd be like trick questions, which you would need that particular tip, which was not in the textbook. So you had to go to lecture, and I had figured this out early in the semester. So I'd race home. It was a nighttime class. I'd race home and I'd watch. And then Tanya Harding, her shoelace snapped one night. She starts crying. Like
awesome.
every night, I was just like on the edge of my seat waiting to get out of that class so I could go see what was going to happen. And it was just like, man, karma.
And then Nancy,
You got to see the movie.
You gotta see. Yeah, I love it.
You will love it.
I should
You will
because
love
I was
it.
so into that drama.
Yeah.
It was
We
great.
know you. You will love it. I promise.
My last one was Spring Break 1992. And you're like, wait a second.
March Madness.
Bingo. We had gone, 4 of my buddies, one from Humboldt, and then one from New York, one from Ohio, flying down to Houston. And then the next day, we were going to go to Padre. And we had a late spring break. So they were flying in on Sunday. I flew on Saturday. I was at my parents' house just, passing the time, watching March Madness. And then Kentucky and Duke came on.
Oh, yeah.
East Regional Final. And I just remember sitting there watching that entire game with my parents. My dad could flip a remote with like nobody else. I mean, he's way better than anybody I've ever seen. Never turned it off the game once. Never. We just somehow at some point realized what we were watching, and it was like, This is unbelievable. And we couldn't believe like we're watching it. And at some point in the second quarter, I went to the VCR and I hit the record button just because I was like, okay, something's good.
Second half.
And second half. And I was like, I've got to record this. I got to have this for posterity's sake. Little did I know that YouTube and all that would come later on. And I just remember watching, and then after the game was over, I rewound it to watch it again, and we're all watching this thing again. So my final one is 1992 East Regional Final, Kentucky Duke. Christian Laettner hits the shot. Say what you will about Laettner, but that
Wasn't he
game,
perfect that day? He didn't miss a single shot,
he was
right?
10 of 10 from the field, 10 of 10 from the line. Was
bananas.
absolutely perfect. Gang, that was really fun. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Johnny.
Thanks,
There
Johnny.
it is. Shows in the books. Appreciate these 3 for being by. Thank you to all you for listening. We'll see you next time. And as always, go Texans.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.